I view the Democratic investigations in a similar light that I see with the Disney trilogy or sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Something that has happened, something that I wish did not exist, but nonetheless we're still talking about it, and the people who made said product are still trying to push it. And if you think we're done with the investigations against President Donald Trump, oh my god, think again. Because just recently, Adam Schiff has decided that he is going to draft legislation to set up a 9/11 style commission into the coronavirus. Now, at surface level, this seems fine. According to Adam Schiff, this is supposed to be developed in the case of hopefully trying to learn from our mistakes as a result of the coronavirus. He specifically cites the events of Pearl Harbor and 9/11 and trying to understand what went wrong, how the government can improve upon this so that we would have a better response and hopefully this situation wouldn't happen again. Now, if that were the case, I would 100% support it. I would have no problem with that because I think with the coronavirus being a very unique scenario that the country is in right now, it's definitely it would definitely be worth a whole lot to try to understand what we did wrong so that future pandemics would be properly dealt with or even prevented. But in the case of Adam Schiff, that is definitely not the case, especially if you look deeper. Because Adam Schiff is basically trying to use this legislation in order to investigate President Donald Trump again. Why and what for? For supposedly corrupting the supply chain, for supposedly causing a lot of damage to the response with the coronavirus, how to help with the other states, with redistributing medical equipment, and etc. Which is completely, in my opinion, bogus. Especially since, like I said before, the coronavirus situation is a very unique one. Even the Washington Post has specifically said, and I will be linking to the article's description down below, in case you guys want to check it out. Even the Washington Post says that already, without the legislation being drafted, there's already some fact-finding underway to try to understand to try to dig up any possible evidence that Adam Schiff could be used against Donald Trump. And this is really annoying, especially since a lot of Americans and, well, the entire public in general are not very supportive of this sort of thing. They are more focused on dealing with the coronavirus crisis than launching another investigation into President Donald Trump. And this shows, especially since, like I said before, Adam Schiff is the figure behind this legislation which is being drafted. Adam Schiff already has a major reputation behind him. He led the investigations into Donald Trump of his supposed dealings with Ukraine, and even went so far as to try to push the impeachment of both of the charge of abuse of power and obstruction of justice, both charges which the Senate found him not guilty. And of course, Republicans have criticized his investigation, saying that it was very partisan in nature. I already made videos about what happened during that time, so if you want to check those out. But nonetheless, thanks to that, Adam Schiff has already had a major reputation behind him when it came to that investigation, and a lot of people are not too happy. Plus, this just happens to be at a very worst time, since the Democrats have basically been trying to use this crisis in order to gain concessions. Look no further than the stimulus package. Although the stimulus package, my bad, can't speak. Even though the stimulus package was a bipartisan effort, they intentionally decided to block it in order to gain concessions out of it, which they managed to do. Originally, it was $1.2 trillion, and now, as a result of their confessions, it was risen to over $2 trillion for a whole load of multiple programs, some of which were not even for the coronavirus itself. And a lot of people are pretty furious about that, especially since this seems to be more, this kind of action is more of a hindrance and would be a direct negative impact on the economy, since, well, right now the economy is stalled as a result. A lot of people are currently in their homes. Hell, I mean, I'm in my own apartment right now, and it's really hard to go to a nearby store. Although the grocery stores are still open, there's just a lot of other stores, restaurants are just completely closed down. Nonetheless, that's what they did. They tried to get concessions, and they managed to succeed. So, and as a result, a lot of people are already having issues with how the Democrats are treating to this virus, especially since Donald Trump specifically has been implementing policies into hopefully stopping the coronavirus, going so far as to establish travel bans on Europe, neighboring countries of Mexico and Canada, and China, which the coronavirus originally was made its first cases there. And of course, I need not mention the Defense Production Act, among other policies which he has implemented so far. This is already the situation in which Adam Schiff decided to acknowledge this legislation is honestly difficult. It's going to be a difficult thing for Adam Schiff to sell. Not to the House of Representatives, no, because the House of Representatives, we already know, is heavily democratically controlled. What is going to be a hard sell is to the American people, because as stated before, Adam Schiff has the reputation of constantly trying to launch investigations against the president, trying to impeach him, and this would seem to be another one of his actions that he made in the past. Plus, even if that weren't the case, he would still have to deal with the fact that this is a very unique scenario that the United States is dealing with, because President Donald Trump is dealing with a situation that honestly presidents have never been dealt with. So it would be very hard to compare him with any president in the past in order to try to make a case against him. Not to mention the fact that a majority of Americans happen to approve of President Donald Trump's response. In fact, over about 55 to 60% of Americans polled have actually said that they approve of Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus. Even if that were not the case, even if what I previously stated was not the case, and he would not have a hard time with that, the memory of impeachment and the constant attacks by the Democratic Party, not by Adam Schiff, by the entire Democratic Party, will paint this in the negative light. Since the beginning, the Democrats have constantly tried to attack President Trump, tried to launch investigations into him, like with the Russian collusion issue, with Ukraine, obstruction of justice, etc. They have been constantly doing that throughout his term as president. And all the American people would see as a result is just another attack on the president. And it's an attack which has come at the worst time, when Americans would rather prefer to be united against this virus, this threat, than to be divided over politics. I honestly think that this will just be this will bite Adam Schiff in the ass, as well as the Democratic Party. Because as I said before, this came out of a bad time. This only builds up upon the negative reputation of the Democratic Party, and of course, President Trump's approval, as well as implementing policies to deal with the coronavirus. in the future, it may probably turn out differently, but I do not think so, especially since that this year is an election year, and this would be given a lot more ammunition for President Donald Trump. But nonetheless, should Adam Schiff actually use this, and I definitely think he will, to attack President Donald Trump, this will hurt the Democratic Party and Adam Schiff badly. It will damage their political reputation even further, and it will not help with the fact that it was during a crisis which they decided to attack President Trump. But that's my own opinion on the issue. My name is Noah Meehan on The Art Truth. Please post your comments down below, like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, if you have any issues regarding my videos, such as how I speak, how I frame my videos, what do you think I should improve upon them, or any subjects you want me to talk about in the future, please post them down in the comment section down below, or directly message me up above. Thank you.
Almost head.